A lot of us live lives that could make others envious. We are always jolly, always smiling, always happy. At least that's what most people think. We unfortunately all have those dark, secretive sides that nobody knows about. And when those moments strike us, we can feel helpless, we can feel needy, we can feel pushed over the edge, and we may not think that there's a way around it. That's when, more than often, we say, I am depressed. Now, having interviewed two clinical psychologists on this channel, you can check out the interviews right here, and having read up on mental health, numerous research papers and research articles, I've watched several documentaries, having had some peer reviews and conversations around the subjects of mental health and depression. I have deduced some easy identifiers to help you figure out whether the three words, I am depressed, apply to you. So here is how the test works. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, simple yes or no questions. I need you during this time to have a piece of paper to note down the number of times you answer yes and specifically to which question. Now, before we get into the questions, I'd like to emphasize a few things. Number one, depression is something that a lot of people suffer from. Some people who become depressed can easily snap out of it. However, it becomes extremely difficult for others who get deeply and aggressively into depression for them to get out of that bottom rut and need external help to get back to who they really are. According to the World Health Organization, depression affects over 3.8% of the global population. That's over 300 million people worldwide, roughly close to the population of the United States of America. In fact, just under the total population of the USA. So, you are not alone. Number two, even though I've done my test to simplify this process of self-reflection through self-assessment, this is not a diagnosis.
Bruh, depression is the weirdest thing, dog, because it's like the one moment you're winning, the one moment everything is so dope, and then out of nowhere, bah, it's just downhill, bruh. Doesn't matter how much you're winning, doesn't matter where you are with your life. Once it hits, bruh. So
depression is very complex and results from a complex interaction of social, psychological, and biological factors. People who have gone through adverse life events such as unemployment, bereavement, or traumatic events are more likely to develop depression.
So I want to make it very clear that the opposite of depression is not happiness, meaning depression is not sadness. Depression, I've learned, is the lack and the loss of vitality. Vitality is your enthusiasm for life, your enthusiasm for living, your excitement about life.
Number three, depression can lead to more stress and dysfunction and worsen the affected person's life situation and the depression itself. So this video is meant to help you and I, because the journey towards living a fully fulfilling life starts with you and I. Now let's get into the questions.
Please answer these questions truthfully and honestly.
Question 1. Do you have little pleasure or interest in doing things? Question 2. Do you feel hopeless or down for a prolonged period of time? Question 3. Do you have trouble sleeping, either too much or not at all? Question 4. Do you feel tired or have little energy for prolonged periods of time? Question 5. Do you overeat or have a poor appetite and you don't understand why?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. As you can no doubt tell, I'm back in the land of mushy peas and free healthcare, or almost free healthcare. I'm back in England, at least for the next few weeks.
Question 6. Do you feel like a failure or that you've let people down and you can't forgive yourself?
Question 7. Do you have trouble concentrating?
Question 8. Do you have any harmful thoughts towards yourself or others?
Number 9. Have you put on a happy face to hide your feelings from others? Number 10. Is it difficult to remember the last time you were happy? Have you withdrawn from society, your family, or your friends?
Before we jump into the analysis or the processing of the questions that I've just posed to you, I think it's important to just mention a few pertinent points about depression and the role that you can play, you yourself, in actually helping you yourself and others out in the process. Number 1 is that you need to know and understand the symptoms and patterns of depression. Therefore, research information about the way you are feeling, how you're feeling, and where to go or what to do about it. Number 2, if you do not understand, then seek help. Number 3, be able to differentiate between normal emotions, mild depression, and extreme depression. And number 4, save numbers of people you trust that can be of immediate assistance to you during your time of need. Remember, whatever result you get out of this is not cast in stone, nor is it final. There are other scientific methods that have been documented over the years that can also help you self-analyze, self-contextualize, introspect, and identify whether you have a problem with depression or not, including the Beck's Depression Inventory, which is a 21 set of questions that are used for you to almost self-diagnose, though I don't want to use that term, but almost self-diagnose yourself with regards to depression. And maybe I can do a part 2 of the video, but let me hear from you whether you are interested to it, and we can do a quick deep dive in relation to this Beck's Depression Inventory and how to use the tool to determine your state of mind and how you can relate to depression in the process. Now back to the questions. If you have answered yes to 2 or fewer questions, then it is highly unlikely that you are suffering from depression. In other words, what you are experiencing is completely normal and temporary. If you have answered yes to 3 to 4 questions, then it is likely that you are suffering from mild depression. But you have nothing to worry about, as mild depression is something that you can easily snap out of. If you've answered yes to 5 or more of these questions, then it is highly likely that you are extremely depressed. In this case, make an appointment with your local general practitioner or medical doctor or a professional psychologist, and they will then be able to assist you further. Do not ignore, especially if you had 5 or more. Do not ignore.
Or if you even answered yes to none of these questions, but you think you might be depressed, I would highly recommend you speak to a doctor or a mental health professional so you can get properly diagnosed.
Antidepressants are not the first line of treatment for mild depression. They should not be used for treating depression in children and not the first line of treatment in adolescents, among whom they should be used with extra caution. It is important to note that depending on the severity and pattern of depressive episodes over time, healthcare providers may offer psychological treatments as behavioral activation, cognitive behavioral therapy, and interpersonal psychotherapy and/or antidepressant medication such as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or tricyclic antidepressants. Different medicines are used for bipolar disorder. I am hopeful that this video has been helpful to you, especially since you've watched it until this far. So I thank you for watching. At the same time, I hope that it's a stimulator towards driving you in the positive and correct direction so that you live a fully fledged life because you are here for a reason. Details of organizations that can assist you have been put throughout this videos just so that you know that there's a place that you can turn to that costs you no money. There are resources out there that will be able to assist you further. Use them, capitalize on them, and actually win over any mental sickness, because it is a sickness at the end of the day. Also, at the same time, I'd like to emphasize, let's do away with the stigma around mental health so that a lot of people can actually take positive action towards going the right direction and making the right decisions. Let us use the techniques, the knowledge that we've just found in this video to the betterment of the human race,